the way he's built, the way he prepares. Until you go through a 30-start season or a 32-start season, you don't know. But I think he is built to pitch that way.
So Derek Shelton is here with us, manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates. What year is this for you?
Year 6. Yeah.
We had a conversation about this. So 2020 you took over?
2020 I took over, the COVID year.
So you came in and you brought COVID.
I brought in and came in, and spring training stopped, and, it was great.
It was great.
It was great.
Lead a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Lead a Zoom call. Does anybody
Managing.
want to buy my hitting tool?
Oh, you still have that?
Yeah. I mean,
You still sell that thing? What is that thing called?
The speed hitter.
It's the thing with the ball, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have one.
I do have one.
Yes,
I think you gave it to me for free too.
I know you did.
Of
I
course,
did.
you get something for free.
Wow, yeah, I forgot
take
about
care-
that.
take care
I
of
forgot
people.
about that, man. So what's the feel here in Pirates camp 2025? You guys got off to a hot start last year. Faded a little bit towards the end, but what's the vibe here for 2025?
A really good vibe. I mean, a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. I mean, obviously built around our pitching staff, really good pitching staff, and I think that's kind of what we're leaning into.
How good can it be? How good can your pitching? I mean, you Skenes, look. By the way, can you get this signed for me?
Yeah.
I've been looking for him all day. Okay, so I just need him to
Well,
sign.
he's not easy to. I mean, you
No.
can find him. You can find him.
You can
He's
find
a big
him.
man. He's a big man.
But I haven't seen other than over there watching bullpens. I was in the locker room, didn't see him, so it's fine. But Skenes, Keller, Jones, Chandler if he's there, Oviedo when he comes back, right?
Oviedo, Heaney, we just signed Heaney,
right?
Bailey Falter. So I think we're building a really deep pitching group. We have Thomas Harrington, also we have Solometo. So I think, as you guys know from the seats you used to sit in, that's the most important position in the field, and we're trying to build as much depth there as possible.
What about Chandler?
Chandler too, yeah.
Like you sit there, are you told to not watch his outings because you hear about these like prospects and you see this youth and you're like, whoa, he's got great stuff, and they're like, can you bring him up too?
No, I think you get excited about it. I mean, we had Jones last year, in spring training that was so good. Chandler we saw for the first time the other day in a major league spring training game. It's good. I mean, our pitching group has done a really good job of developing young arms, and you're not going to just need 5. You never go through a season with 5, and we want to make sure that we have as a deep a group as possible.
What about bullpen wise?
Bullpen wise, I mean, Bednar, Holderman, depending, we signed Ferguson, we're stretching him out at the beginning. We signed Majinski, we're stretching him out, and then we can kind of go off that. Dennis Santana, last year when we acquired him, I mean, you take away one outing where he gave up 4 runs, he ran out a sub-2 ERA, and our group did a really good job. I think we're trying to build as much depth as possible, but the back end of it, we added Meza. We have a left-hander, Baraki, if we can keep him healthy when, left on left, it's been really good. So it's probably a deeper group than we've had in the past couple of years.
Is Bednar the closer?
I
think that's what people want to know, right? Because he was the closer, was an all-star, had some struggles last year. Chapman was here. So now is he back to that role?
I don't think we're ready to say that, but I think we feel very good with the fact that we have a guy that was a 2-time all-star closer. And, he had a blip last year coming out of spring training. He had an abbreviated spring training, started off, struggled, and then was really good. I think, 18 saves at one point, and then struggled a little bit with his command. I think as we get through spring training, we'll have a better idea where the command's at, but fully expect him to bounce back. I mean, you don't sit in that spot and do the 9th inning for 2 years at the level that he did without being really talented.
Still in there.
Yes, it's in there.
Last year you said to us, you were like, you guys were hot, similar to the season before, and you said, we got some injuries. How do you look back at last year and the year before, how you guys started, and say, we have to do this year. We have to do that. We got to stay away from this. Like, how are you set up to not allow that to hopefully happen again?
That's a great point. I think 2 years ago, we finished really strong and played good the last 2 months. Last year, we played well. Take away, and it's a good chunk, take away 16 games starting at the end of July through the middle of August. And we ran into, and this is no excuse, but we ran into Arizona, San Diego, LA, San Diego, LA. And San Diego had just made those trades at the deadline. And in that stretch of games, I think we lost 11 in a row. So you stay away from that. And we lost 7 one-run games or 6 one-run games. So that's the thing. I think to AJ's point, you have to solidify a bullpen in those situations. We had leads in, I think, 4 of those games and ended up losing them. We have to make sure that our depth maintains that. You look at that stretch. We're 4 games over. We go 5-5 in that stretch. That completely changes the dynamic of the last month and a half.
Agreed. All right, so I got to ask this because we're talking pitching with you, and I showed you my Paul Skenes card. Is he on any load management this year? Because last year I was proud of y'all. Y'all let him go, and it was great. I mean, the year he ended up having was a historic type of run.
Right.
Can he do that for 30 starts this year?
I think our hope is yes. And I think one of the things that we were really adamant about as a group, and Ben and I especially, was like he made that last start in New York. I mean, it was 2 innings. You can say what you want. Okay, we kept him in 2 innings. I felt really strongly like he needed to take that mound and feel what prepare for that last start, because guys don't know what the length of the season is. To answer that question, I'm going to say yes, because the way he's built, the way he prepares, until you go through a 30-start season or a 32-start season, you don't know. But I think he is built to pitch that way.
What is the catching situation looking like because of the season that Joey had?
Joey's got to get the bulk. I mean, he's a guy that's going to start, pending health, and you never want to get that far ahead. But he deserves to start with the situation he had. And I think Joey's a testament of, like, a guy that was in a different place, maybe needed to change of scenery, had made an adjustment in his swing. And sometimes that prospect hype comes, and it doesn't come as fast as everybody else in the baseball world wants. But last year it stuck. It was good. It was consistent. And then for that second spot, we have 3 guys. We have the 2 young kids in terms of Indy coming off the injury, and Henry very much in a similar situation to Joey, where everybody expected, okay, you're 1-1, you're going to jump on the scene. It's challenging to do. And then we have Jason DeLay, who can really catch and has done a good job for us. That spot will probably be one of the highly contested spots for us going up to the end of spring training. But leading into the season, Joey's the main guy.
What does that look like? What is the spring training? I know what it looks like as backup catcher. We're talking about backup catcher, but just competition in general in spring, because we talked about it.
Yeah, competition in spring training for me, and you guys would know this better than I do, having been in that role. It's the hardest position to get at bats for, because early in camp you don't want to catch every day. You want to try to get your legs underneath you. But when you're trying to get 4 guys at bats, it becomes challenging. It becomes, people look into Henry started the first game and Indy caught the second. Don't look into that, because I needed both of them to catch 5 innings and 4 innings. So the fact that you have to catch the back half of the game, right now it's about getting reps. It's about, seeing pitchers throw. It's about getting your legs underneath you. And it's one of those challenging things, because catchers are always the one that basically get screwed on at bats in terms of the volume. So we have to try to figure out as many ways to get at bats, but they also need to catch, the main guys in your pitching staff.
Makes sense. All right. So, I mean, we talk pitching with you guys, and your pitching staff has got a chance to be special this year. How are you going to score runs?
I think that's the –
I mean, you're an old hitting coach.
Yeah, I know.
With an old hitting commercial. You and Tom Amansky and Fred McGriff are trying to sell the ball.
I had way
on
better
stick.
hats. I had a better hat.
That's true.
I had a
world.
better hat than Freddie had on, the back-to-back.
Yeah, AAU national champions.
I will tell you that I used to give Freddie a ton of static about it, and then the commercial came out, and he abused me for about 3 years, which I appreciate. I think we're going to have to figure out our offensive identity. That's the biggest thing. I mean, we have Brian Reynolds, who was 5th in the National League in hits. We need Cruz to take that step forward. 2020 last year, keeping him on the field. A healthy Key Brian Hayes is huge for us. And I know you guys have only been here for a day, but that's probably the most encouraging sign. His back is in the best spot it's been in 3 or 4 years. And offensively, he's made a swing adjustment. That's something that, needs to hold up. Nick Gonzalez took a step forward last year. And then however we have to get creative in terms of how we score runs, but it's going to be probably doing things on the margins. We're going to have to make sure we execute.
More in a minute, but first, a quick word from our sponsor of this video.
Hair thinning is very common, very frustrating problem that many men deal with. From stress and nutrition to hormones to lifestyle, so many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to their hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL. And now back to the video.
You run in Tommy Pham. What's he like? I played with Tommy when he first came up, so I've known Tommy for 10 plus years. But what's he like when you see him every day in there grinding at bats? What's he mean to this team?
Intensity. I think it's one of the things. We brought Adam Frazier back, who we knew here, he knew us. We brought him back into a leadership role. He's more of a utility guy now with where he's at in his career. But I think one of the things that we identified for Tommy, and honestly, we've tried to get Tommy for the last couple of years, because adding a guy like that into your clubhouse, and you played with him, all Tommy wants to do is win. Everything he thinks about on a daily basis is how we're going to win today. And when you have young players and you have a veteran guy, perfect example, yesterday, Paul Skenes throws a live BP because of the fact that we had the weather. We have bullpens that are going on in the cage. The first guy that goes in the cage to track is Tommy Pham. When you see a guy that's played that long, has that intensity, and you're a young player, you're like, damn, all right, this guy's doing that. I'm going to go in there and do that. That leadership by example is something that we felt was really important to add to our clubhouse.
What about all the coaches? I come to spring. This is the second camp we've been to. Y'all have so many coaches. The Orioles have so many coaches. Do you feel like that waters down for the players as far as like, oh, this dude's talking to me? What is Shelton? Does that guy talking for the skipper for me? Like, do you feel like there's too many people around and it kind of muddles some of these younger guys?
I think you have to be. It's very different. I mean, even from AJ likes to highlight how old I am, but even when I got to the big leagues, the hitting coach, we had no assistant. There was no.
And now you have
three. So I think the one thing, especially in the hitting space, is today's players are needy. They like to hit. They need everything. So having hitting coaches in that space, I really feel we made a really good hire in Matt Haig. Brought in our hitting situations in a good spot. It's all about the lead guy in that spot. If the lead guy in that spot communicates and is able to delegate to his group, then the message stays consistent. And then on when you bring in your minor league group, you have to make sure you're on the same page. And we're fortunate. Donnie Kelly's our bench coach. He does a really good job every morning of getting guys on the same page, because you can get muddled and the message can be lost. And you have to make sure that it's about the player and the player getting the right message. And I think the other thing that we all know is you guys had coaches that, you didn't relate to. A real good friend of ours, Greg Walker, who I think was one of the best hitting coaches for a long time in the big leagues. He will tell you, sometimes you don't relate to guys. Sometimes guys didn't relate to me as a hitting coach. So when you have a different group of guys, players are going to relate different. You have to make sure that you have different personalities for players to be able to relate.
Not everybody likes the ball on the stick. It just doesn't work.
Well, everybody likes that.
It just doesn't work for everybody.
You got to make sure.
By the way, it's called the hits tracker.
Yeah, it's called the
speed hitter.
Speed hitter.
Speed hitter.
That's right. All right. I got to go back to something you said. You mentioned Hayes' back. How bad was it? Because, obviously the Pirates aren't top of my follow list of teams, right? But how bad was it? I know he's missed some time with the last few years, but how much has that affected him over his?
It's affected him a ton. I think you go back to 2023. You look at June, you look at August and September, really good productive bat. He missed all of July because of a back injury. And then last year, only being on the field for 94 games, that affects us. We're talking about one of the premier defenders in the game. He changes the game defensively just in terms of how he reacts and handles third base. And when we've seen over the last couple of years, when he's healthy, he's a productive offensive player. Anytime, and I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but anytime you're doing a sport where you have to rotate or you have to torque, the back is in the center of that. And when you can't do that to full strength, it affects a lot of things that go on, whether it's the pitches you swing at, the pitches you don't swing at, just how you go about your day.
You guys made the move for Spencer Horwitz. Do you have any timeline for him, or is it kind of frustrating when you're like, okay, we made this move and he has a chronic wrist injury?
Yeah, well, frustrating with the fact that because he's a guy that we planned on getting a lot of at bats, especially versus right-handed pitching at first base. Right now, no timeline. It looks every day watching him in the training room, seeing the smile on his face. He's back taking ground balls now. Little things like that are working towards it. It's one of those things, because it has been a chronic issue, you don't want to rush it. We don't need to get him back on the field. He's back on the field because we rushed him, and it's 2 weeks, and then we deal with it again. So I think listening to him, listening to how he reacts, and watching his volume of work is going to be the most important thing, because once he gets back, we need him to stay on the field.
We're talking about all these young guys. What about the old guy? Did you have Andrew McCutchen in a wheelchair when he came in this spring? Did you get him a walker to walk in?
Spot?
Yeah. Well, no.
Handicap spot out here?
He definitely gets the closest. When you got 15-plus years, you park wherever you want, as close as possible. I think the one thing with Kutch is the fact the consistency of the bats is something. We talked about Tommy. Kutch still controls the zone at an elite level, as well as just about anybody I've ever been around. and then just having a guy back that's been in Pittsburgh. And it's important. I mean, he's been in Pittsburgh on the teams that were the last playoff teams, and it's important for our young guys to be able to feel that.
Yeah. I mean, but he's got to retire at some point. Like, we were giving him grief. We're like, Kutch, man, like, it's time, bro. Like, he's going to be 50 years old. He's going to have a beard like you. You're still going to be willing him out there to DH.
I'll tell you what, if he controls his zone the way he is, I think he's still going to continue to be a really productive player.
Agreed.
Like, we talk about overexposure. You talk about a guy that controls his zone like that. Your eye never ages. Obviously, your eyes get worse, but AJ knows that. But is there a fear of overexposure for a guy like Kutch, or are you like, dude, if you can give us 600 at-bats, give us all 600 at-bats?
I think it's just a matter of how the body holds up. I mean, he is, 38, 39 years old. It's going to be conversations of management. I think the way I look at it with Kutch, and Kutch and I have talked about it in terms of conversations, is we need him to be the best version of Andrew McCutchen every day. So if that's a day off a week, 2 days off a week, however it is, so he's on the field, that's what we need. That's what we need to get from him.
Do you tell him that?
We talk about it. It's constant communications about, how your body feels, what your body's like. And as we get into the season, there's going to be stretches that are good days. There's going to be stretches that are bad days. It's just all about making sure that we have the conversation about how he feels.
Love it. That's the touching. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shelton.
Thanks for having me on.
My speed hitter is worn out. I need a new one.
You need a new one? Are you still taking hacks?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? You got any pictures I need to – I'll take a bat off Skenes. I ain't scared.
I'm not scared. He'd definitely get you out, though.
Oh, come on now.
You're going to swing. We know that.
Exactly. Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.